Good day everyone, we are Group 4 and the topic we have chosen is flora. In this info video, we will be discussing biogeochemical cycle married with ecological reservoir or environment, anthropogenic effects, invasive species, and epigenetics.
The sulfur cycle explains how sulfur moves through the geosphere and biosphere, whether releases from sulfur from rocks, which is then digested by bacteria and plants. It is then transmitted up the food chain, where it is assimilated by plants and animals before being released as they decompose. Sulfur is required for proper functioning of proteins and enzymes in plants and animals that rely on plants for their sulfur. When sulfur is dissolved in water, plants absorb it. These plants are consumed by animals to ensure that they get enough sulfur to stay healthy. How sulfur affects flora? Sulfur as nitrogen, an imperative fixing for development, are frequently connected to each other in natural forms. Both components from an indivisible group. In case sulfur shortages were recently uncommon 20 years long time back, they are commonly experienced nowadays due to the drop of sulfur dioxide outflows. In this way, sulfur has become a fundamental concern of horticulture nowadays, which can be brought to crops by application of mineral fertilizer or excrement. It is additionally accessible in soil organic matter and within the climate. Sulfur can, as it were, be retained by plant roots as sulfate, or to a lesser degree by plant leaves as sulfur dioxide. Sulfur cycle is critical for the working of proteins and chemicals in plants, and in animals that depends upon plants for sulfur. Plants assimilated sulfur when it is broken down in water.
Flora plays part in various cycles of the overall biogeochemical cycle. They play large roles in the carbon cycle and the oxygen cycle, while relying in other cycles like the water cycle and the nitrogen cycle. So what is the relationship between flora and the nitrogen cycle? Well, flora, like all living beings in the planet, is reliant on nitrogen. Nitrogen is an essential nutrient in flora since they serve as a core component for amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins, and nucleic acids, which are the building blocks of genetic material. Nitrogen enters ecosystems via certain kinds of bacteria in soil and plant roots that convert nitrogen gas into ammonia. Thank you.
Good day, I am Rafael Bolongaita of Group 4, and let's talk about anthropogenic effects. Anthropogenic refers to an effect or thing caused by human action. The word was coined by Russian geologist Alexei Pavlov in a technical sense, while it was used in English by British environmentalist Arthur Tansley concerning human impact on climax plant communities. In the mid-1970s, atmospheric scientist Paul Crutzen coined Anthropocene. Many of the facts that contribute to a warmer environment arise from the combustion of fossil fuel from various sources such as electricity, cars, planes, space heating, manufacturing, or the use of chemicals. Multiple anthropogenic senses, including land use change, deforestation, agricultural intensification, and urbanization, are progressively exposing natural ecosystem, resulting in intensive habitat fragmentation, which is anticipated to be intensified further by predicted climate change. Thank you for listening.
An invasive species is a non-native species that harm the environment, economy, human, animal, or plant health. Biological species invasions can have a wide range of adverse effects on ecological systems. We know that plants, animals, fungi, and microbes can be invasive. In plant life, these species have the potential to significantly alter native vegetation by changing the frequency of fires, nutrient cycling, water availability, and soil erosion. However, these changes are only less than half compared to the impact brought by us, humans. In order to meet the ever-increasing demands of our ever-growing population, human activities have disrupted the Earth's ecosystem over the last 50 years due to industrialization. The industrialization has resulted in significant habitat destruction. Forests are cleared for lumber and ecosystems are destroyed to make way for roads, strip mines, and gravel pits. Destroying these habitats disrupt local ecosystem and may result in plant extinction if a species cannot adapt to their new surroundings. With that being said, humans are the most destructive, indeed an invasive species.
So, what are epigenetics? Epigenetics studies how cells influence gene activity without affecting the DNA sequence. Epi in Greek means on top of or above, and epigenetic refers to forces outside of the genetic code. Epigenetic alterations are DNA modifications that control whether genes are activated or not. These changes are made to DNA and do not modify the sequence of the DNA building units. The epigenome is a set of changes that govern genes' activity inside the cell's entire collection of DNA. Epigenetic alterations affect the creation of proteins in cells because they assist in determining whether genes are switched on or off. This control ensures that just the proteins required for the cell's function are produced. Proteins that stimulate bone formation, for example, are not generated in muscle cells. Individuals, tissues within an individual, and even cells within a tissue have diverse patterns of epigenetic alteration. The epigenome can be influenced by environmental factors such as a person's nutrition and exposure to contaminants. Epigenetic alterations can be passed down from generation to generation and can even be inherited. Plant genome epigenetic modification is comparable to that of mammals in that histone marks have a similar profile and DNA can be methylated at cytosine residues. Plant epigenomes, on the other hand, are more vulnerable to environmental influences than animal epigenomes. Epigenetic regulatory systems can help plants survive and reproduce in uncertain settings by facilitating metastable changes in gene activity and fine-tuning gene expression patterns.